My name is Patricia Massy. I'm Nehi-Yao Métis and European. I was born on Lheidli T'enneh territory up north. I moved down to Chilliwack near Stolo territory and spent a good chunk of my life there, and then moved to Squamish, Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh territory about 10-12 years ago, and I've been here ever since. I am the founder of Massy Books and the founder and director of Massy Arts Society, which is a nonprofit in the downtown east side that provides space for over-excluded, underrepresented authors, artists. You know, it's an interesting story. I have done so many different odd jobs in my life. You know, like I drove across the country in a semi moving people. I've worked at a bowling alley. I was once a carny traveling with the carnival across BC. And I've worked in and out of bookstores for the last 15 years. And I was working in the downtown east side in 2016 and got a little bit burnt out, and I went to a ceremony in Victoria with some spiritual workers, and in my ceremony I had this vision to open a store. Bookselling has always kind of been this place where I felt safe, felt connected to community, culture, and so it's kind of how I started. And then a year into bookselling, I opened up my pop-up shop on Main and Fifth, and my dad had come into the store and told me that we had actually had 7 generations of booksellers in our family. And, when that happened, I felt, this is what I'm meant to do. I feel like it's in my blood to share stories, to be surrounded by stories.
Welcome. For how many of you is this your first Massy Arts experience? Okay, cool. Welcome. Congratulations. You are in the right place. You're always in the right place. But I'm particularly glad that you're here today. What is there to say? So my name is Brandon Wint. I am a poet, spoken word artist, emerging filmmaker, general lover of life, believer in sensitivity, aspirational community builder. Yeah, that's who I am. I've been working here at Massy Arts for about a year, since February of 2023. My role is to support in sort of all of Massy's events coming to fruition. So that could mean working the microphone, doing land acknowledgements, helping to sell the books. Beyond that, or the thing that I love the most about Massy Arts as a poet, it helps me connect to a literary community that's vast and diverse, and a surprising array of like-minded people who all gather for the sake of, I would say, justice-aligned literary beauty, And so, tonight's event is one such thing. Yeah. This land is the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, and Massy Arts takes its role in, being one of many decolonial, anti-colonial actors quite seriously. And we have a collection of absolutely luminary poets from Canada, stretching all the way to the UK and through the United States. I've been here for a year, and I would say that this is one of the most stacked lineups that we've had. So we have Hari Alluri, we have Bronwyn Tate, Jen Curran, Kazim Ali, myself, I'll be hosting. And so just my general excitement for events like this it's I get to be a real poetry nerd, or a kid in a candy store. So it's the thing that I love the most I get to do for work. And so, Massy Arts is important in that way.
I rocked in a cold breath on the bathroom floor. The holy man kept a tiger as a pet, healed the villagers with hands-on ginger and turmeric. LSD 5 times and Molly just twice. I decided to major in accounting. A microdose with coffee to stave off the predations of depressive thoughts.
We require the risk of impossibility. Everything I don't understand this evening is blooming. The paths, perfect and separate halves of a pear, lead past riparian glades near a tangle of duckweed and periwinkle. As if I could catch a brill from the pump trough or invent some bearded lettuce. Place a salamander by the sweetly balsamic impatience.
Who was I when I was writing this name, John? Copper oxidizes to green, air packs itself tight in the seed, seed unspools in the ground, writing the biography of dirt. A little down the road, another tower is going up. In the picture, a man holds his briefcase over his head like an umbrella. In the rain, bodies are soft and disappear into sound. On John Street, down the road from the World Trade Center, almost choking on loneliness, that year I lived in the sky.
My mother never learned to ride a bike. She whose son would one day fail to teach her. She who once kicked my training wheels further off the ground at my request. Then came running to scoop me off the dirt I landed in with her daughter in her arms. I wanted to cry loud enough for my father to come running. Of course he couldn't. We were trying to get me to learn to ride before he showed up back. My mother, my tiny sister, and I making our way back, kicking up red dust, looking nothing like any kind of march. This smoke I light is for those whose training wheels she tried to put back on, but whose refusal, with her help, ultimately got a bike's balance under me.
When I started Massy, I also wanted to be a place to learn about and find stories that were underrepresented and not typically found at Indigo or like your mainstream bookstore. It was, I really wanted to display and highlight Indigenous stories specifically, because that's so much of who I am and where I come from as well. And so much of that was not available when I was growing up. I didn't really learn about Indigenous history until grade 10. And it's different now, of course, but when I was in grade 10, it was very different. And I learned about it because my sister, who was in university, gave me the information and I did a project on it. But we were never told about residential school and schools. Of course, I knew about it from my own family, but the stuff wasn't made readily available. And I know there's so many stories out there that need to be told and that are already out there in book format, and I wanted to share that. It's hard to really reflect on why Massy is important to the community and artists, because I can't speak for anybody else. I think, what makes Massy special and unique is that we're not just a bookstore, we're a community hub, we're an art gallery, we're a gathering space where people come together. We bring people together, we provide a space for people to gather. We work really hard to make sure that our places are safe and that people are cared for. Having a space that's accessible and free to attend events is really valuable in the community because, so much of what goes on in the city requires that kind of, payment up front. What we do with Massy is really a reflection of how I was raised, My dad was a vice president of a very large union, and a lot of our weekends were spent going to protests and rallies. My first protest that I attended, I was 2 years old. It was in Prince George, and we were shot at by somebody who was driving by. He shot at the crowd, and it's always kind of like been part of who I am, to be active, to stand up, to kind of do everything in my power in any way that I can to kind of be on the right side of history. I also think what inspires me is collective action and organizing. It's this persistent kind of coming together to hold politicians accountable, and trying to stand up for things that we may see that are going wrong in front of us. As in Cole Arthur Riley says in Black Liturgies, we don't resist to change the consciousness of the oppressor. We do it to awaken the consciousness of those who are still in possession of their souls. And I really feel inspired by these people that continuously show up, even though you work so hard and maybe things change just a little bit. It takes a lot of fight, and it also takes a lot of hope too. You have to be hopeful, otherwise, why keep showing up?
When there is not enough, the youngest son walks alone toward the farthest mountain. The virtuous daughter laces her braid with yarn, departs. Rabbits bring her tidbits. A winsome wind arcs from the north, cough scrapes a rough-toothed comb along her raw throat.
That city had remained buried in a field for 1,000 years. The palace and throne room had been torn apart. The rubble of the mosaics were now being painstakingly reassembled piece by piece, unlike the villages of Palestine, disassembled down to stone.
There is no underground for these sore stories high. But we're made for the night, and it could be better, but it could be worse. And harried passerbys go on quiet Appalachia streets, searching for small-scale tobacco, ship chandlers and pubs, lager supplies, mutters to mothers written on walls, and there are loves sharp in the distance, and their trembling fingers are digging for atoms, and these are blurs of resistance that are plump and blackened.
It's an expression of decolonial action from many points of access, So it could be advocating for Palestinian justice through our newsletter. It could be inviting poets and storytellers who have some stake in decolonial activity through their literary production. It could be organizing information so that people know how to get to the appropriate rally if we're advocating for a certain thing. And of course, this is a Indigenous-led, Indigenous-owned space, and so there's a certain sort of proximity this space has to anti-colonial and decolonial action in the context of Indigenous rights and sovereignty. And so it's all of that through poetry and through the love of literature.
And then this is the last one I'll read tonight, and I dedicate it to all of you. Thanks so much for coming tonight. It's called I Assume the Poets Will Continue at Their Trade. Two friends leave dead marriages. It's January already. The president is dead. Believe the leaves. They're coming back. You beg a beginning. You say I never play my guitar. You say I don't own a guitar. You say I don't own you.
If paradise lies beneath the feet of my mother, then how will I find my way inside unless she admits me? Now I look at each face, each body, as it moves around the subway platform, down the stairs and around the platform onto trains, off of them. After my aunt Chandamumani's death, I thought of them each as flames.
Sensory postcards wake late nights that whip by, which some days dream, may we side by side the loot and the riot and the protest. In digital speculative fabric, trip the light $10, anti-Asian, anti-black, auntie, this and that and happenstance. The elevator closes, and our dogs talk the dwell time of Virix 5.
I think my experience in the city is not like we're a very busy store. We're very busy at the gallery, so there's always people around. In a ways, it's a little bit of a different experience than being isolated and say like just going to work at your day job, clocking in, clocking out, going home. We're surrounded by people all the time, and I feel really nurtured and held by our community, and rarely feel like lonely. I mean, when I first came here, of course, as to Vancouver, it was a different experience. But now that we've built this kind of this place, I feel really cared for and nurtured, and feel like our community is the same way. And I really hope that in creating this kind of community and these places that we set up, that people are, come out to gather with others, also feel like that's the antidote to loneliness as well, is that there are people, around willing to connect. I know it's hard to do in Vancouver because I feel like people work 3 jobs just to make their rent, and there's no time. So that's another aspect of living in this city that I think needs to be taken into consideration when we feel about, when people say it's not a very friendly city, it's a friendly city, but people don't want to, go out for dinner with you. They'll give you a good restaurant recommendation, but they won't actually invite you into their house for dinner. And I think that's true in one way. But, we're all struggling to survive too.
Cities in the 21st century are almost like inherently lonely-making places, and so a space like Massy Arts is one of the spaces that I come to as a human being so as to not feel lonely, or it's a space that helps me feel hopeful about the possibility of community building in this city. And so, yeah, anything that we can do to help people reckon with the beauty of themselves in community is a worthwhile effort. Yeah.
I have the best job in the world. I really do. Like every day there's new books coming into the store. I get to it's like Christmas. I get to open a box and see what is interesting. I definitely love it. And also I love the community. I really do. Like I love the people that come in here. We have the best staff. So much of what we do is a reflection of the people that come into the space and go to Massy Arts, and I feel like we really are who we are because of everybody that's involved.
This woman on a bicycle seems relaxed, rounded like me, fit sprung, fly, I'm saying well-paced. She seems happily accompanied, and I cry. A host, the bus driver, grocer, building services worker, that thinker that held it down, made sense, made comfort, made breath, made opportunities for us to stand and to sit up. We are incredible. This is powerful. And I cry. As she dance, leap, runs past, masked with a water gun, her hair, a puff of sail, a sweet shrub of midnight hydrangea, the storming clouds, they're behind her. And I cry, and I cry, and I cry, and the water falls down on the inside.
What lonely span of ocean I crossed, having now renounced my family of questionable faith on that middle island, to come to the valley of the Kumeyaay on a shore we will oddly call Khalifa, to obey the dismembered God who in pastures of invasive plants summons me once more to storm heaven.
Thank you. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. What a glorious thing we've done. That's the end of the evening. Did you enjoy it? Yeah. Yeah, thank you for the music of that poetry, the fierceness of it, the attentiveness of it. I am moved, and yet I must stand here as though I haven't melted. It's a trick I do. Thank you for that. Yeah, let's have a good time. Oh, thank you. Thank you for thanking me. Thank you all. Let's go buy some books.